We would get up, get ready for school, rushing a little bit to the bus, and of course he'd go to school. And then depending on the day, he'd come home. We'd have a quick snack, and we'd be off to either soccer or karate
Cub
or
Scouts
Cub
or
Scouts or
basketball
golf.
or
So
very hectic all the time, some kind of sport.
yeah, we were maybe one night a week we were home. We were rushing to some kind of activity for Whit pretty much every day, and the same thing on Saturday.
1 week, we're testing for his brown belt in karate, and he pumps out 120 push-ups. He's just a solid piece of metal, but he was crying. Then he had to spar, and he ran out of oxygen. And then he went over a friend's house, and on the trampoline he had some bruises. And the next day he's riding home from the bus, and the bus driver calls and said he couldn't breathe. So we take him to the hospital, and the helicopter was down at MCV, so they rush him off in this super huge ambulance.
The trauma transport.
And so you go from 1 week doing 120 push-ups and 50 crunches and sparring to 3 days later, he can't walk the 10 feet to the bathroom, and I'm carrying him like a baby, and this radioactive yellow stuff is coming out of every hole he has, and he's telling me, "Daddy, I'm gonna die."
Earlier on, he was quite convinced he just couldn't manage. I remember a time when, he was it was a particularly lengthy admission, and I don't remember the exact particulars of what it was going on elsewhere on the floor. But I seem to recall one of those times when he in fact did become conscious of, not only aware of, but conscious of somebody else, another kid on the floor whose situation was far more dire than his. And I think I saw some kind of a transfiguration or a turnaround in him. And I think he has, with time and exposure to others, has certainly matured in his own outlook and in his own self-awareness. Is just willing to do the work, what it takes to see this through.
I'm in there with them. I don't have a magic wand. I can't make it not hurt or be scary, but there are certain techniques that we can try because sometimes kids are just mad. So we have to figure out, is it really scary to them, or are they mad and they don't know how to say, "I'm mad and that I have to do this." And so it's just learning their personalities to see, once we figure out if they're scared or they're mad, which way we need to go and how we're going to make it a little bit easier for them.
I think at first you not even realize it's Ask helping because it's kind of almost seamless in a way. Katie in the clinic she was always there, and she'd check in. Does Whit need an iPad or something to play with, or a game? Or she gets the volunteers to come play games with him.
No matter what she sees in the clinic, I mean, you hear kids screaming, crying, they're getting poked, and blood and toxic chemicals everywhere, and when Whit's scared to death and she brings this little remote control car.
And always with a smile on her face. Yep.
I have the best job. A lot of the kids don't realize that I'm an employee. They call me the play lady, which I love. Who else gets to go play with kids all day and get paid for it? It's awesome. And our kids teach us something new every day.
Tom David in the hospital, who comes to see Whit, and they blow bubbles with each other, and Whit just loves to see Tom David. It makes him so happy.
Mr. Tom David, in the darkest times, you're in a dark room, alarms are going off, high heart rate, low oxygen, waiting on blood tests that can change your life. And here comes this man with this happy bow tie, and he's blowing bubbles. And no matter what he's seen, in the last few rooms he visited, he's always upbeat, and he's been there and he's seen it, and he makes you calm. He's really like sun shining through these clouds and over a stormy ocean. He really helps a lot.
People can overcome incredible obstacles, and in the midst of it, they form amazing community, a community of caring. And in this place where the worst of the worst happens to people and is met with the best of modern science, you're also met with, an ocean's worth of love. and of mercy and of compassion, not only from the staff, but from one another. And there's all kinds of caregivers around here.
Elizabeth Robinson, one of the doctors on the team, she has helped Whit tremendously. We were, this poor kid who's never had to take a pill in his life now has to take these pills every day. And it's not easy. I mean, it's not easy for me to take a pill. And she's been there to help him learn how to do that and work through his fears and explain to him what's happening to his body and what's happening with the leukemia and what the chemo does for the leukemia. And it was a godsend because we could understand it, but how do you tell him? And how do you tell him when he's going to lose his hair? And they've just been really great.
And the mental side, they address that, where he gets to be around other kids that have been through that. And half the people help him to play games, they had cancer when they were younger. And the lady Amy is in charge of ASH. She had a child, 18 years old. She knows everything we've already been through.
I look at it like we are privileged to go on this journey, and regardless of where the road's going to go, to be a part of a family through something that's none of us can understand because we've never walked it, but to be a part of it is really special to me.
I mean, they really approach like the whole family because they're in the hospital, they're in the clinic, they're providing social activities for the kids. With the Halloween party, they provided parents' night out, and they had local restaurants that gave discounts to the asked parents. I mean, it's just such a holistic approach to help, physically and spiritually and emotionally, and they just do an amazing job.
Why did the toilet paper try to cross the road, but he didn't make it?
I don't know.
Because he got stuck in a crack.
He has a very dry sense of humor. For his age, he's really smart, which maybe is his downfall. But some of the things that he will say just catch me off guard. And I like kids who have spunk, because if they're spunky and have that fighting back attitude, I know they're gonna get through this. And he has that, like, right off the get-go. I was like, all right, he's got this spunk. He's gonna be okay. We may not manage as well as he does, but he'll be okay.
With encouragement, and I think reaching into his own sense of, I can do this, he's gradually conquered, some of the challenges.
So even though he was sick and even suffering, and even I remember when he told me he had blisters on his mouth, he goes, I want to try out for my senior brown belt, which is one before black. And so I said, okay. So he went there and he did all the moves. He had practiced all the moves with Aaron. Aaron knows all the moves. And it comes to a time we have to do push-ups. And that day he had to do 50 push-ups and 50 crunches. Well, a week earlier, he couldn't even walk from the medicine. So he really pushed himself, and he did 30 push-ups. And then he just collapsed. And he really wanted that belt, so he was crying. And he was trying, and he couldn't do any more. So his karate instructor, Mr. Easter, says, I'll do it for you.
And he did, and all his friends that were getting their belts stayed to cheer him on. And there was a lot of support, kind of a family support.
I thought it was pretty tough, but it's so overwhelming. Childhood cancer is so overwhelming. And men don't cry, no, but when nobody was looking the last 7.5 months, I've cried every day. Maybe tomorrow I won't. So we'll see.
That's what I like to share to people when everybody asks me where I work, and I tell them, you see that, oh. And yes, it is sad, but there are so many awesome stories of our families, regardless of even how the story ends. These kids are amazing. So we're the lucky ones because we get to work with them.
Some of the best times of our lives have been in the last 7.5 months because we appreciate things we never appreciated before. Like your boy answering the phone saying, hello, Daddy, or
some realizations you get out of just how precious life is and how your life can change in an instant, and you
In
never.
an instant, it can happen to anybody.
Do not waste an opportunity to see the splendor of life.